good lord, it's actually way hotter down there than the likes of how it does it since when we first got there. I suppose it really doesn't matter though, because we still got a whole lot of levels to go to, and especially noticeable we are still in the process of collecting some more Wonder Seeds before we take on Bowser Jr. for the 4th time, which does requires for about roughly 15 of those Wonder Seeds in order to be able to get there. Hey, what's up ladies and gentlemen, it is I am the one and only, Ray the Flying Squirrel here, and I am back for the likes of the Mexi Toys videos once again. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back for some more Let's Play of Super Mario Bros. Wonder for the Nintendo Switch. So, last time we have basically did fully completed everything in terms of Fungi Mines by able to actually meet up with the forms of King Boo, of all things, which is pretty unexpected, and on top of that, it's about the fact that we did somehow claim the 5th Royal Seed, which as a result, we did somehow manage to get rid of the 5th Cloud Piranha, so this means we've only got one more Royal Seed left until we basically get rid of the forms of the last Piranha Cloud until we basically face off against with Castle Bowser, I think is what it says anyway. So today for this video is about the fact that we're going to be continuing exploring for the forms of, in the last video, potentially speaking of, we also did manage to able to start things off in World 6, which appears to be Deep Magma Bog. So, speaking of which though, today for this video is about the fact that we're also able to continue exploring for the forms of World 6, which is of course Deep Magma Bog, and hopefully we should be able to actually grab some more Wonder Seeds, as well as some more 10 Flower Coins, and you pretty much name the rest of it though. So because of that, yeah, nothing else has been going on at this point in time. Well, apart from the fact that we've already noticed from this, ever since in Journey Forms have been, well, for WarioWare Get It Together recently, basically though, that both Silver, alongside with Pac-Man, that basically they both have recently finished up the entire story mode in terms of WarioWare Get It Together, so I suppose they are now moving on to some extra stuff, specifically certain microgames they are missing on, as well as the forms of some extra modes. So as a result, I'm sure enough though is about the fact that by that time until this particular weekend coming up, to be more accurate though, the beginning portion of February, then they should be able to actually finish up the entire playthrough of WarioWare Get It Together as close as possible, because it was originally trying to able to get itself its conclusion for the sake of the forms of by the end of January, because obviously that game is super duper short, just like the forms of how it does on the previous games. On the other hand though, it was instead just going to be hopefully trying to wrapped up until at some point at the beginning of February, mainly because obviously that particular some days have been delayed as to be expected because of the forms of you know what. So, but at the very least we got back on track. We're able to actually just to continue things on with the forms of certain games we did somehow play through on. So, anyways, a few things I want to explain for this point today is that today's date, of course, there is the 29th of January today, in some cases in 2024 today. I would have liked able to explain about this one specific game that recently became 5 years old just recently. However though, I'm also saved that particular topic until for later, because for now, we somehow managed to get ourselves the next Wonder Flower by simply able to pull the actual liver, or just pull the actual thing up, and basically we somehow became invincible while in the state, and because of that, we have the ability to able to swim through lava, which is actually pretty interesting, because normally we can't able to actually touch the lava normally, but apparently in this Wonder Effect right here, basically since we've become invincible, this means that the actual lava is pretty much, well, accessible when it comes to this Wonder Effect. And I believe in this particular section right here, is that we need to grab, as usual, some more Wonder Tokens, so we can pretty much expect to able to get ourselves the Wonder Seed from there. As far as completing this entire world, as far as I'm concerned, I don't think it's possible for today, but maybe at some point on Wednesday, that we will definitely able to wrap things up, everything on this world, until specifically until on, like I said earlier, until, you know what I'm saying, on Wednesday, just because no matter what though, is about the fact that I can't believe by saying this, is that we're getting very close towards the end of the first month of the forms of 2024 already. Well, mind you, I will admit though right away is that this entire month of January is alright, but I will admit though it's not the best, mainly because, well, the obvious positive aspect about this is that obviously we got ourselves some more catch up stuff for the likes of certain Nintendo gaming related news. Like, for instance, that we've already got ourselves some more confirmation about, you know, Mario vs. Donkey Kong Remake, and at this point in time it's about the fact that, well, not long now until that game decides to able to release. And I think we've only just got about, I would say, 18 more days to go until that game decides to come out for the Nintendo Switch. So yeah, let me know in the comments down below for the question of the day. Do you guys want me to able to tackle through Mario vs. Donkey Kong on the Nintendo Switch? Because if you suggest that, I would love to, especially because I honestly still prefer the first game over the likes of the other sequels, mainly because it just feels a bit kind of samey from the other sequels, because it shares the exactly same gameplay style as the forms of Mario vs. Donkey Kong 2, but with some major adjustments, mainly with the forms of some toolkits, alongside with the forms of some world environments. Although I will admit though, is that Miniland Mayhem is probably one of the greatest games ever, because obviously it does manage to take place in an amusement park and stuff like that. So, but as far as everything else goes, I might try to give the forms of Tipping Stars a bit of a chance, alongside with the forms of Mini Mario and Friends Amiibo Challenge, even though despite the fact that you can no longer download that game, mainly because, you know, the eShop is now already dead. So, and yeah, we've already on about for the fact that it's kind of unfortunate until 8th of April, which as a result, the online functionality for the 3DS and Wii U are basically going to die. So because of that, I am not exactly excited about this, because as a result, like we've already mentioned about this several times already, the future is going to be bleak, which as a result, not only it will happen during the forms of in the 8th of April for Nintendo Wii U and Nintendo 3DS, but also with the forms of eventually at some point in July, the Xbox 360 marketplace will also be shutting down as well. Although it is still possible to able to actually access to other games on the Xbox One version, because you can still technically get some of these games on Xbox One, but as far as 360 is concerned, it's kind of unfortunate that the actual store is almost going to be closing down in the future, which as a result, yeah, it's going to be pretty upsetting for certain circumstances as far as I'm aware. So, and I believe that particular pipe right there just takes us all the way back up, which is actually act out as a shortcut, by the way, which pretty much leads us to the actual next powers that we can able to go into, but I might gonna have to save that for later, just because no matter what though, there are some other things we need to take care of. Like, for instance, you notice there is actually a path right there, as you saw on the left, but we can't actually get to that just yet, because we do need to backtrack for a bit, because I'm pretty sure we've come towards the dead end on the bottom right corner. So basically we've already accomplished everything on there, so we'll just go ahead and go across the bridge, and hopefully we should be able to, let's just go ahead and switch over to Blue Toads this time, and let's just see what really happens if we go onto this bit. And oh boy, we got ourselves yet another Chemic encounter. Well, it's kind of weird about the fact that we've never actually get a chance to fight Chemic. Unlike the forms of how it does it on not only a New Super Mario Bros. Wii, but also with the forms of New Super Mario Bros. U as well, and even with the forms of maybe some extent for Yoshi's Island or something. But either way, it looks like we've met again with the forms of the battleship. So, and I think, fundamentally speaking, this is actually going to be the last battleship level in the entire game. So in some cases, Deep Magma Bog, flying airship, flying battleship. I keep on saying airship for some reason, because I keep thinking about, you know, any other games for that matter. So, again, I will admit though right away, it's been about 3 days ago since we've last played this game for sure. But still, regardless of everything else though, we are still very glad that we've actually got back on track for uploading schedules department. So, which also applies to the forms of Capcom 74 as well, for able to go back onto Kingdom Hearts 2 Final Mix. So because of that though, hopefully you should be able to actually catch up for more days and stuff like that. So, alright, so also I just realized that if you manage to able to pull this little thing right there, basically it actually slows down the actual scrolling speed of this specific stage, as you can tell. And I get the strong feeling is that something tells me we do need to try to figure something out for the likes of trying to able to obtain certain, you know what I'm saying, with the forms of 10 flower coins and stuff like that. But hopefully we're able to try to figure something out if we manage to able to encounter them. Like, for instance, there's one of them down there. Now, I believe something tells me we need the Flying Mecha Koopa to able to get that particular 10 flower coin, but unfortunately I've missed it, so... oh well, no big deal. So, yeah, let's get to the forms of another topic at this point today. It seems it's gone all over the place recently in regards to the forms of Power World's existence, because no matter what though, Nintendo is actually going to get a little bit more of a rampage of any sort in regards to the forms of that game's existence, because no matter what though, fundamentally speaking, that Power World did somehow manage to able to first came out during some time during the forms of on the 18th of January, which is roughly about 11 days ago. Jeez, it's kind of crazy kind of thing about it. So, in some cases though, it's about the fact that, usually potentially if I've noticed something like this, is that, that particular game did somehow came out, not only for the sake of the forms of, let's just say, Windows PC, but it's also it did manage to came out on Xbox systems currently, which is, Xbox One, Xbox Series X/S, but for some reason, no PS4 or no PS5 releases, so kind of strange for that particular version releases during that specific period, but still, no matter what though, it's about the fact that, at the very least though, that it was also kind of crazy, is that it during the forms within the first 5 days, that Power World did somehow manage able to get the actual 7 million copies sold during the forms within the first 5 days. So yeah, it's pretty insane, and as a result, Pokemon fans, alongside with Nintendo fans, are not happy about this, which is understandable because it's almost like a rivalry competition. Like, what is this, like the actual the 90s competition between both Nintendo and Sega all over again? Well, let's not forget to mention about the forms of both A Bug's Life and Ants competition back in Journey forms within 1998. So, yeah, it seems to go all over the place when it comes to the forms of a massive competition between these two different franchises on that specific time. So, but as you can tell, I accidentally died right there because I was attempting to try to do it the normal method by tossing the actual Mecha Koopa to try to obtain the 10 flower coin, but unfortunately though, I have to take a sacrifice for it. But as long as you were able to try to do this on multiplayer, then you should be okay. Oh, and something's worth noting for, speaking of the multiplayer in this game, much like the forms of how it does it on New Super Mario Bros. Wii, New Super Mario Bros. U, and as well as New Super Luigi U as well. Basically, you can only able to play this game for up to 4 players. So no matter what though, is about the fact that you can only select up to 4 different playable characters, except the fact that you can able to switch any of them at any time. So no matter what though, I very appreciate about the fact that we actually got ourselves some more variety when it comes to like playable characters and stuff like that, as far as we've already expected. But there is one little thing that we want to classify for something, is that unlike in New Super Mario Bros. Wii, alongside with New Super Mario Bros. U and New Super Luigi U, there is no longer a collusion effect where basically certain players are actually getting their way sometimes. Well, I'm very grateful about the fact that, well, it seems a little bit kind of sad for most chaotic players out there, but as far as I'm concerned, it's about the fact that thankfully though, we can now able to walk past certain players of yours. So no matter what though, just in case they don't get in your way, unlike the ones how it does it in New Super Mario Bros. Wii, New Super Mario Bros. U, and as well as New Super Luigi U, sorry, and maybe potentially with the forms of New Super Mario Bros. 2 as well, I guess? Well, mind you, I haven't exactly tested out with the forms of the actual multiplayer for its local multiplayer for the likes of New Super Mario Bros. 2. I mean, potentially speaking though, is that the naming of New Super Mario Bros. In the past is a little bit confusing sometimes, because you think about the fact that those games are relatively new, but now they are incredibly old. So that's why some people attempt to call it like Super Mario Bros. 5, Super Mario Bros. 6, Super Mario Bros. 7, and Super Mario Bros. 8 for its, well, a parody to something or something like that. So, God, I couldn't imagine it until when it gets to the point until in 2020, well, let's just say in 2033, that when this game is going to be 10 years old during that time, which, I'm probably not going to discuss on that more details about that specific year of mine. But basically those about the fact that it will be like, I don't know, Super Mario Bros. 9. But that's besides the point. So, but as you can see, we somehow died again. But that's just mainly because I didn't pay attention. But luckily, we can able to actually like... Can we skip this? Oh yes, we can. So, every time whenever we do die, there is now a cinematic cutscene skip now. So because of that, unlike the forms of how it does it on New Super Mario Bros. Wii, New Super Mario Bros. 2, I believe, alongside with New Super Mario Bros. U, in addition with New Super Luigi U as well, there is no way you can't skip those little cinematic cutscenes, as you've already saw, every time when you first got to that specific point. So... And there we go, folks. That was the entire flying battleship levels. So because of that, overall it was actually a pretty fun experience as far as I'm aware. Oh, and by the way, something's worth noting for is that, yeah, you have to pull that particular string lever thing until you're able to let the flamethrower get a little bit calmed down. So just in case you can able to once again activate the switch, so just in case you can able to finish off the forms of that particular battle. Well, it's not necessarily a battle, but to be more specifically, trying to make our way to that specific switch to able to deactivate the forms of that conveyor belt. So... Anyway, so let's just spend some more flower coins for that poplin to able to, well, able to actually break this rock. And now we can able to actually go into that specific alternative path. So that way we don't need to worry about just trying to able to go for a full circle. So, anyways, let's go on to KO Arena in Magma Flare Up. So anyway, let's get into the forms of that topic at this point today as well. Is that there's a game that I somehow mentioned this briefly about the fact that recently, for those of you who lived in not only in America, but also with the forms of the United Kingdom as well, or the UK anyway, recently, happy 5th anniversary of the game's release of Kingdom Hearts 3 for the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. Gee, it's been 5 years ago since that game first came out in those two specific systems. Whilst eventually later on, during 2021, they saw the release on PC from the likes of the Epic Store, and of course, the most infamous time of them all though, it was in 2022 for the Nintendo Switch version, for the cloud version. So because of that, but I'm more referring to as the PlayStation 4 version, as well as the Xbox One version from now on. Because let me tell you, while looking back in Journey Forms of in Kingdom Hearts 3, even to this day, some people loved it, and for some reason, some people seem to despise it the most. I'm not exactly sure why, but personally speaking, while I'm looking back on the forms of Kingdom Hearts 3, even to this day, I still find this to be a really enjoyable experience. I mean, sure, it does have some flaws for sure, like, the story feels a bit, I don't know, meh. But regardless to such though, it's about the fact I do enjoy the combat, and on top of that, the visuals looks really spectacular, even on the PlayStation 4, especially concerning for the fact that just like in Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep 0.2, a fragmentary passage, basically though, that game has been made by the forms of not only Square Enix, but it's also with the forms of the graphical standpoint, it's made by Unreal Engine. Well, technically speaking though, it was Unreal Engine 4, as far as I'm guessing correctly. Well, mind you, no matter what though, it's about the fact that I've recently managed to able to go back into that game again, especially concerning for the fact that I managed to able to decide able to play through the entire game again, but this time with the forms of a fresh new experience where it comes to likely getting some more trophies and stuff like that. I highly doubt, I don't know if I can able to get the Xbox One version after all, because it plays out exactly the same as the PlayStation 4 version, but with Xbox controllers and stuff like that. Well, potentially speaking of, it is nice about the fact that back then, that it was pretty nice that Microsoft can able to experience Kingdom Hearts for the first time ever, at least specifically when it comes to the Microsoft Xbox department, because for whatever reason, it's about the fact that it wasn't until let's just say sometime in 2020 or 2021 that basically though they finally get a chance to get ourselves the rest of the games in journey forms of certain compilations. Well, for whatever reason, it's still managed able to get ourselves its digital release on the Xbox One version for some reason, which I still have no idea. They refused to able to do the physical media version of that specific compilations of games in regards of the forms of Kingdom Hearts series, because that would be awesome if that seems to be the case, but sadly that's not seem to be the case. So although, still, no matter what though, I'm very happy that I still managed to get the actual physical versions of the rest of the Kingdom Hearts games for now, especially concerning for the fact that, well, obviously I just love the series so much. Well, apart from few game exceptions though, which appears to be Union Cross because I found that game incredibly boring, but at the very least, in terms of storytelling, I could possibly understand, but it's just about the fact that the gameplay is just not that very fun for me, so... But either way, and I was expecting the same thing for Dark Road as well, but I feel like that Dark Road is a bit meh. Well, at least storytelling is interesting, but it's just that, again, the gameplay structure is just not that very pleasant for me. Although I'm looking forward to see what's going to be new for, well, for Kingdom Hearts anyway, and as of course, Kingdom Hearts Missing Link for smartphone devices. At the very least, it plays very similar to the defaults of how it does on the previous Kingdom Hearts games, so thankfully there's no turn-based battle system, unlike the defaults of how it does it on Union Cross, at least in my opinion, as well as the forms of Dark Road, and even one of those worlds in Recoded by the forms of Olympus Coliseum, they have to deal with the forms of the turn-based battle system, which as a result, it just feels a bit weird though, even especially considering for the fact I'm pretty much used to with like action RPGs, because at the very least I can move around and able to attack and try to able to pull off some physical attacks to deal with the forms of certain Heartless and Nobodies and etc. And we're not exactly sure when does some more information is going to bring up for the sake of the forms of Kingdom Hearts 4. Oh yeah, I also forgot to mention about this potentially, and I suppose that both, let's just say Silver, alongside with Pac-Man as well, that they both completely forgot to mention about in terms of the forms of how the fact that, yeah, we did get ourselves some more new confirmation for the sake of the forms of some new updates for the likes of Dragon Ball Sparking Zero. I was originally trying to able to mention about that game, but I think I'll let both Sonic and Knuckles will both mention more about it if they go back onto Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze at that point, so... Oh jeez, this level is gonna get a little bit nerve-wracking, especially because we always have to take a ride with those platforms, as you can tell. Oh jeez, that was close. Because I noticed there was actually that one last 10 flower coin, and I messed it up. Oh, I messed it up. Well, unless, on the other hand, that Prince Florian decides to able to recommend the, that one of the badges, but I'm probably not going to break any challenges at all, so I'm just going to have to do this the hard way. So, as long as I can still able to equip the Auto Super Mushroom badge, so just in case we can able to, like, be much more safer from around here, so, but either way. Oh, I should also mention about this as well, I guess, is that recently, F-099 has recently got itself the new update, and this time what appears to be it's now on version 1.2.0. So, and I'm pretty sure what it contains is that there is actually a special secret course, which I'm not exactly sure what's usually called exactly, and on top of that, they also now hosting the forms of private hobbies. So, pretty cool though. And that's as far as I can usually say about it. Oh, come on! Why is this particular 10 flower coin is so difficult to get? Although, just like the forms of how it does it on New Super Mario Bros. U, as well as maybe New Super Luigi U as well, if you try to send those Buzzy Beetle shells on the actual lava, basically those specific Buzzy Beetle shells can able to float on lava, so that way you can able to actually just maybe jump on them to make things a bit more safer. So, I suppose no matter what though, I think that's as far as I can usually say about this particular stage. So, despite the fact I did die a couple of times because I wasn't thinking straight, and on top of that, I got distracted by the forms of other stuff, you know? Especially concerning for the fact that at this point in time, that I'm pretty sure we're now on to the halfway point in terms of the forms of this entire world of, you know, Deep Magma Bog. So, yeah, potentially speaking though, as far as progression goes, we actually gone for this particular stuff pretty well. There we go. Now we finally succeed. So, now we suppose we can able to finish off the level like so. Yep, I think we've gotten everything. So, either way, oh, that was a close call. Because if I jump a little bit too late, then obviously I have to redo the entire stage again. And I have to do this off screen so I can able to do, you know, the gold flagpole. But luckily, that doesn't seem to really be the case. Because obviously I pulled this off on my first try. So, anyway, so that pretty much does it for this level, despite, you know, we did die a couple of times, but that's okay. So now we can able to proceed on to the next level, which appears to be, well, first of all, let me go and switch over to Green Yoshi for the time being, and because of that, we're going on to the next level, which appears to be Dragon Boneyard. So, in some cases, let me go and switch over to Parachute Cap again, just in case for, you know, safety moments like this, I guess. So, but, anyway, there's also another thing I want to mention is that apparently though, alongside with the forms of the actual process of the forms of, well, at this point in time, as you probably already know, I've decided to go back onto Sonic Dash again for able to actually get ourselves, you know, Dragonfire Sonic as the alternative costume for Sonic. And exponentially, I'm actually getting to the actual process well enough. And maybe that could be also applies for Dragon Claw Tails if that particular event is going to be coming up for Sonic Dash. But I'm sure enough though, it'll make things a little bit more interesting. So, anyways though, out of nowhere, it seems to be more specifically, mind you, is only focusing on Sonic Force's speed battle from now on. As it turns out, we're about to be getting a new costume variant for Rouge the Bat, which it could be something related to the forms of Valentine's Day kind of costume. So, I'm not exactly sure what that costume is actually called, by the way, but I suppose we'll be able to find out some more details about that if the actual event decides to able to show up for the entire purpose of the forms of this Rouge the Bat alternative costume. So, even though technically speaking though, it's about the fact that, like I mentioned this before, that I can't believe that Kingdom Hearts 3 has recently already became 5 years old just recently today in the English version, whilst it technically it already did in the Japanese version since 4 days ago. I mean, jeez, what an old time go. But then again though, is about the fact I'm still very excited about the fact with the whole process of Kingdom Hearts 4 to be released on next generation of consoles, mainly for PlayStation 5 as well as Xbox Series X/S, because I don't think it's definitely not possible to able to be released on PlayStation 4 now, just because, you know, the graphics look a lot more stunning this time. So I guess it makes everything else almost entirely real for its graphics and stuff like that. So I guess that makes a totally obvious sense kind of thing about it. But, yeah, another thing I want to mention is that it may look like that we're about to be able to get ourselves, I don't know if it's a potential leak at this point, which, as it turns out, we're about to be expecting that the leaker claims that the next big Donkey Kong game is not going to be a part of the Donkey Kong Country series, so, but I'm not exactly sure if that's going to be on, well, it's probably not going to be on the Switch 1 system, because no matter what, though, I'm pretty sure that Nintendo has basically done every single big AAA titles for the likes of Nintendo Switch system, because I'm pretty sure they're almost about to be preparing for Nintendo Switch 2 before they're able to actually wrap things up for the entire release schedules for certain other incoming games for Nintendo Switch, the regular Nintendo Switch. So, well, for the most part though, I'm pretty sure at the end of the day, I'm sure enough anyway, just before Luigi's Mansion 2 HD will be releasing, as well as Paper Mario The Thousand Year Door remake, that I'm gonna say that Nintendo Switch is overall a fantastic system, because they brings us a lot of potential, and on top of that, massive amounts of games they've got. Especially, I'm also looking forward to Freedom Planet 2, that I can finally get a chance to able to play that on the go, on my glorious Nintendo Switch, obviously, so everything else will be come to expect. So even then, no, let's just go ahead and, oh, I don't think there's anything else in here, though. What? There's a Wonder Seed there, and I just committed suicide. That was so bad for me. Well, at least on the upside is that we've already got the checkpoint, so let's just try this section again. And as it turns out, this guy is actually alive. So, yeah, we have to take a ride on this particular... I'm not exactly sure what this creature is called, though, because I know for a fact it almost kind of reminds me of the forms of Gobble Gut from the likes of Super Mario Galaxy 2. Well, except the fact that it's actually much nicer, and especially as a good guy, compared to the forms of Gobble Gut, that, potentially speaking though, is actually part of the boss fight in Super Mario Galaxy 2, so... And I'm pretty sure that we might as well get ourselves our last chance for hopefully that Super Mario Galaxy 2 will make it onto the Switch. I highly doubt it. Well, that's just mainly because the actual story is basically, it's like a retelling of the forms within the first game story, but nothing heartwarming, or perhaps even maybe not so much emotional stuff is involved. Unlike the first game, it does have a lot of emotions, so that's as far as I can able to expect that. But we shall see what happens, and during at some point in the next couple of days or weeks, until if they decided able to reveal something new. So, yeah. Alright, there we go. Now we've somehow accomplished that. So, in some cases... Oh, jeez! I almost fell off again. But thankfully, we did somehow flutter jump out of the way. So, just in case I don't die again. Because, my god, that would be embarrassing if I die again. So, anyways, gold flagpole for the win. And, yeah. Nothing else to say about this stage. But, there's also the next thing I want to talk about. Is that, as it turns out, I was quite pleasantly half surprised and not surprised for what I've noticed, is that it looks like, in regards to the forms of the Oscars, they did somehow nominate for, let's just say, not one, but 5 films for the sake of the forms of some nominees for Best Animated Feature Film. And they've listed 5 films, which there are The Boy and the Heron, as well as Elemental, and on top of that there's also Mona, and also Robot Dreams, and finally Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. So, yeah, I'm not exactly sure who's gonna claim that particular Oscar-winning nomination for the Best Animated Feature, but we shall see, we shall see. Anyway, here we go on to the next level, called Hot Hot Hot. So, yeah, indeed, this place is pretty hot indeed. So, yeah, we should probably able to expect that we can able to actually do this level no problem, as far as while using Red Yoshi, because, kind of thinking about it, while using Red Yoshi makes it a little bit of a perfect fit for the majority of the forms of World 6, just because it is much able to take place in lava, as be expected. So, but still, it can be felt a bit broken at times, especially concerning if you really want to go after certain collectibles like, you know, 10 flower coins, and you name it, and of course that you can't able to actually use the elephant transformation, as you can tell on the stage, because no matter what though, is that still it's a bit of a bummer though that we can't transform into things or just get our power-ups for Yoshi and all that stuff. I mean, it could be interesting, but still. But as far as I do realize is about the fact that every time when certain enemies, they somehow became popcorns somehow. Which, truth be told, if you're trying to able to put the actual popcorn seed onto something a bit hotter, it actually becomes a popcorn. So, I guess that makes a little bit more sense, kind of thing about it. Especially as you can tell from these kinds of enemies right here, yeah, they turn into popcorn and they decide to bounce around and such. So, pretty cool though. And the reason why we came here is because, no matter what though, the 10 flower coin is just down there. But, yeah. Oh, there's also another thing I want to mention, is that out of nowhere, we did somehow manage to able to receive, or potentially speaking of, it will be releasing at some point by the end of March, for this year anyway, is that it looks like we're about to be receiving ourselves a yet another Atari mini console. And this time what appears to be by the phones of, Atari, the 400 Mini, which, as a result, I get the strong feeling about the fact that much like the forms of how it does it for PC Engine Mini or TurboGrafx 16 Mini, alongside with the Sega Mega Drive 2 Mini, I'm pretty sure it's going to be, once again, it's going to be exclusive to Amazon websites, which is not too surprising, especially concerning for the fact that unlike the previous console minis, there was not potentially going to be Amazon exclusive for some systems, like you know what I'm saying, the Nintendo Entertainment System Classic Mini and Super Nintendo Entertainment System Classic Mini, alongside with the PlayStation Classic Mini and the Sega Mega Drive 1 Mini, and that's as far as I'm usually concerned with that stuff. In terms of what that particular Atari the 400 Mini were able to feature, well, in terms of what they did say on the description, it did say it's going to cost about 100 quid, at least in terms of depending on what currency you are referring to. As far as I'm usually concerned, is that they did somehow emulate all Atari 8-bit systems, like from the 400 through to the 800 XL, and it also includes certain Atari 5200 systems, as far as I'm aware. Although I'm not exactly 100% sure, because I don't know exactly anything about Atari stuff as much as the next guy, but because, you know, I'm still used to, like, you know, research upon not only Nintendo systems, but say applies with Sega systems as well, and also some Sony systems and Microsoft systems, because those systems are pretty cool in my opinion, but that's besides the point. So, anyways, let's go and pop over to this particular Poplin house right here, and exponentially trying to get ourselves, what else? Yet another Wonder Seed. Oh, and as far as another feature they did somehow contains for, you know what I'm saying, with the forms of Atari, the 400 Mini, it might contain 25 games built into it, so that does seem it's quite a larger amount, but nowhere near as much compared to the forms of how it does it for not only for NES Classic Mini, but also with the Mega Drive Minis between both 1 and 2, but, you know, you get the idea for this point. And, they also say on the actual description, and they still did manage to say, that, you can able to actually just go into, Rewind feature, which, as a result, the Rewind, gameplay by up to 40 seconds, and there's also a feature where basically they now contains multi-region 720 HD output via HDMI with PAL 50Hz and NTSC 60Hz mode, and it does have this compatibility with both 50Hz and 60Hz modes, so it's pretty interesting. Play in original 4:3 aspect ratio or pixel perfect aspect ratio, and without the CRT filters. And I've already mentioned about the forms of rewind gameplay has been up to 40 seconds earlier, and they also did say play games your own via the USB flash drive with disc, cartridge, and cassette ROMs compatibility, and choose from 12 interactive frames to surround gameplay. So, okay, that's kind of an interesting description for it. And also, as you can see, we've actually come across into the final secret exit in the game. And to get to there is that you need to be able to follow that particular sparkling effect at all times. So not only you can able to actually get that particular Wonder Seed, but also allows us to able to go into a yet another, well, break time segment. So although it did say hot rocks, this means that, much like the forms of how it does it in Treasure Vault, Yoshi's, including Nabbit, is inaccessible on this stage. So, yeah, we'll be back for that if we manage to play as a different character. So, yeah, not too surprising for this for the most part. Apart from the fact that we can able to actually do... let me go back in here again, because I'm pretty sure I'm missing something. To be more specifically, that particular Wonder Flower that I somehow missed. So, let's equip the actual sensor quickly, so just in case we can able to see that badge in action. So, again, I apologize for that commentary, it's a little bit slightly iffy sometimes, mainly because I think my throat is almost gonna get a little bit more choky sometimes. But regardless of such though, that's as far as I can usually decide able to talk about in terms of the forms of some other aspects about the forms of today. But I'm pretty sure no matter what though is about the fact, as you probably already know, that we basically almost done every single aspect about the forms of Super Mario Bros. Wonder before we decided able to do some more Mario stuff. in the future. To be more specifically with the forms of, as we've already predicted this earlier, Mario vs. Donkey Kong Remake on the Switch, because I'm super excited able to play that original game again, but this time in gorgeous HD, and as well as some more worlds to explore, more levels to come, and you probably name the rest. So of course, just like before, we need to grab some more Wonder Tokens, and this time we need to able to swim for those little water bubbles, as far as I'm concerned, in order to able to actually make our way to some specific spots. So yeah, with that particular sensor, as far as we've already equipped it, it actually tells you where specific Wonder Seeds was actually located, including Wonder Flowers, and especially noticeable with the forms of 10 flower coins that you did somehow miss. So, pretty useful badge, especially considering it for those of you who have a first time experiencing the game. Obviously, about the fact that you need to pay attention to the forms of specifically those little blue petal effects, which actually signifies that you might able to find something in during the forms of certain levels. So, but there we go. I can't even believe I have to replay that particular level for about 3 times, because like I said before, it's been about 3 days ago since we've last played this game for sure, and potentially speaking, I think it's also kind of possible to be able to finish this entire playthrough of Super Mario Bros. Wonder until by that time, until next month, until on February. You know, kind of like the similar thing as the forms of last year, that we did somehow manage to win through not only Ape Escape, but also with Donkey Kong 64. So, exponentially speaking, that's as far as we can able to brought this out. So, anyways, and as you can see, we've now switched back to Luigi, not Nabbit, by the way, because as far as I've predicted that earlier, we need to select one of those specific characters that do have the ability to transform into something, like an elephant, for example. Like, for instance, we can either go for Mario, Luigi, Peach, Daisy, 2 colored Toads, or Toadette, until you're able to actually just to, you know, completely done with this particular thing. And I think I get the strong feeling we do need to spread some water on these specific fire blocks, because otherwise, if you do manage to accomplish something like this, I believe, potentially speaking, you could potentially try to get yourselves a Wonder Seed. So, and I'm pretty sure that those rocks cannot wake up. So, yeah, you have to do it just once, and that's it. So, yeah, self-explanatory right here, especially concerning for the fact that, well, again, if you pretty much know what to do. So, now I believe afterwards, though, I'm pretty sure that we might able to do some even more badge challenges, as far as I'm aware. Now, I'm pretty sure we've almost done every single aspect in terms of the forms of those badge challenges, as far as the entire thing is concerned. But exponentially, we do need to able to use up to 25 Wonder Seeds in order to able to continue our progressioning for this entire world. So, just run 2 Expert Badge Challenge. So, oh boy, I'm very curious to know what this particular stage is going to bring us into. Oh, even though that we've already learned about the forms of Jet Run ever since back in World 1 in Pipe Rock Plateau, which is pretty insane if you ask me. But hopefully though, oh jeez, I somehow missed that particular 10 flower coin, but thankfully we can just hit back at one point, and because of that we can able to just take some bit of time to able to try and able to, you know, practice certain moves like this. So either way, and I'm pretty sure we've almost done. So because of that, and oh jeez, I totally forgot that lava is rising up, and we need to go. Ah, dang it. Anyway, I think we do need to head up there, because otherwise, if you go into the forms of the lower pipe, that basically it takes you to the goal instead, and there's no way to turn back. So, good thing I just somehow managed able to think about that, especially because, again, 400% completion, so you pretty much already know what to expect. So, anyways, let's make a run for it, and boom, there we go. I don't think it's possible we've actually got enough time to do the next badge challenge, but hopefully by that time until on Wednesday, we will can. Especially concerning for the fact I'm pretty certain that we also consider this the fact that we will definitely wrap things up everything for the sake of the majority of this world in particular, until when it gets to the point until on Wednesday, somehow. So, that's as far as for my prediction goes, especially because, well, at this point in time, it's about the fact that we're getting pretty close to this point. So yes, some more Expert Badge Challenges is on its way. So with that being said, it's about the fact that we got the ending stuff at this point right here. So join me next time for more Let's Play of Super Mario Bros. Wonder. And because of that, we're about to wrap things up, everything in World 6. And hopefully beat Bowser Jr. for the 4th time and able to go back to Petal Isles. So I'll see you guys until on Wednesday. Later, fellas.